All right. Hello out there, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I'm excited to be here. I think we'll start with this thing because it's sitting right here on my desk, and I want to get this over with quick and then get into some fun Unity 2020 features and voting stuff too. So first, I guess I just wanted to say thanks everybody who's already subscribed. Without people subscribing like you, this thing would have never showed up at my door, and I wouldn't have got all excited and got to show it to my wife and have her face palm at me. um, anyway, I'm really excited to see what it actually looks like on the inside. What the thing I tried intentionally didn't spoil it, didn't go through and look at any of these. So I don't know. I'm gonna crack it open. We'll see what's in there, what it looks like, and then we'll dive into well, like I said, Unity 2020 stuff. I want to dive into voting on some stuff, talking about some of the new features, and just have some fun with it. So I guess I'll just crack this thing open. I wanted to show this little thing because this was actually a recommendation that came a long time ago from um, Josh. Josh recommended this knife right here. It's a little utility knife, this Leatherman one that also has like a wrench and a bunch of other things. And at the time, I was like, that's kind of weird, but no, I was like, whatever. I asked for one for Christmas because I never know what to ask for Christmas, and I got it. And I use this thing probably like 4 times a week because it's got a little screwdriver on it, a knife, a wrench, and other things. So if you're ever like trying to figure out what to ask for Christmas, I would say ask for one of these little Leatherman knives. They're pretty useful. Um, I like mine. All right, so let's cut this thing open. Here, I'll slide back a little bit and we'll stop it. Look, see how useful that was at cutting that extremely difficult to open tape. Let's crack this last one right here on the back, and we'll see what's in here. Come on. And then I'm gonna catch up on chat too and read and see. I see there's some stuff going on there. I want to make sure that I can talk to people too. All right, so it looks like it's just a big black piece of foam in there, and underneath it, what do we got here? A card from Rick. Cool. Thanks, Rick. And then, look, what does this say? I have no idea. A big long thing that I won't read to you that somebody wrote that I'm sure says nice stuff about getting to 100,000 subscribers, which is cool. And then, oh, here it is. I guess this is the final thing. Oh, it's not really framed. Interesting. Okay, so, oh, there it is. That's it. I guess that's what all the excitement was about and the entire reason for making a YouTube channel, right? I guess it kind of is framed. Huh? It's like this wooden background, or I don't know. That's kind of cool. I'll figure out where to put it though. Neat. Well, again, thanks again, everybody. It's just freaking amazing getting that number. Sure we'll get higher as things go. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure that you do now though, so that you can get on to the next one. Right, it's gold or ruby or diamond. I don't know. Kinda neat. Definitely nothing like what I was thinking it looked like. Wonder if they've changed them recently. But cool either way. I'll have to figure out where to put that thing. Maybe I'll put it back there or up here somewhere. Maybe I'll do it for the office reveal. All right, let's dive into some other stuff. I guess first, just real quick, is there anything going on in chat that I should respond to? Just hey, hello to Sweden out there, and somebody saw my doppelganger. Nice. I've run into a couple of those before. Anything else? Oh, cool. Mystic B enjoying the course. Thank you. Congrats. Next to a million. I agree. I think a million will be nice. I'm hoping like 2 years, maybe get to that point. But who knows? It's just I really don't understand how the whole YouTube algorithm works and how that growth works. All I know is that if you hit the like button, it definitely helps at least. So, all right, let's get into Unity stuff. So I'm gonna switch to desktop view, show you the thing that I built. Some of you have already seen this. I did a quick little preview of it, and then I've added a bunch more, cleaned things up. Did a lot of other things for it. So I'm gonna switch over, show you real quick what it looks like. Let's see, there we go. And this is the little voting app that I made in Unity. So when I saw, what was it, 2 weekends ago on a Saturday, Jabril did this live stream where I think it ran for multiple days, where it was essentially a game that he built and you could play it in chat. So you could control the direction by saying the direction. And I think there were quite a few other things that you could do in there throughout the game, but I didn't play through the whole time because as soon as I saw it, I kind of got excited to get into I catch my breath real quick into how that Unity API was working and how you're able to like read the chat and respond to it in real time and do stuff. And I was thinking like, I wonder what kind of cool stuff I could do with that. And it also had this idea of doing a video on new Unity 2020 features. So I thought, hey, why not try and make a not so much a game, but a voting system where we can go over the features and the things. And I can see what everybody thinks like live. I've done something similar with like Google Forms, but it's not really that exciting, watching a form go up as you refresh it and stuff, or going in and looking at the results later. I thought, hey, I could make something fancy and flashy, or kind of fancy and flashy. You can tell it's not beautiful, but to see when it animates, it's a little bit cooler. And we could see stuff in real time and just have fun with it. So that's kind of where it's at. Overall, it was a pretty easy experience. I'd played with the Twitch APIs before and made a little Twitch game in the past. So I figured it wouldn't be too difficult. The YouTube one was even easier once I figured out how to get my key and get the data out of chat. So I don't know. We'll see how it works and if there are any bugs or issues, but I think that it should be a lot of fun just going through this thing. So let's open up a drink and I guess we'll get started with a couple of the 2020 features and stuff. Yeah, definitely got to take a drink. Talking way too fast, way too much. All right. So, I'm going to hit the play button right now. Oh, actually, I've already got it. And I'm just going to hit the next question button. The way that I set this up was essentially a Unity game or app with all UI-based controls. So it's just essentially a UI. In fact, let me just pause real quick and show you. It's just a canvas here with a bunch of UI controls. Some panels that pop up. You'll see those in a little bit. Some sliders here that are just prefabs that show the score here. They're score counters. They'll be going up and down, showing numbers and names and stuff like that. And then I've got some text elements and other things. And there's one object here that's really handling everything. Oh, and in fact, if I hadn't looked at this, I wouldn't have realized that my chat vote collector was off. And we wouldn't have even read any of the votes. So actually, let's stop playing and turn that on. I also had, by the way, when I was setting this up, I had made a test vote collector. If I hit add component, you see this, let's remove it. Hitting the wrong thing. Sorry, I added a target joint. Remove all of that nonsense. But I added this test vote collector too, so that I could run through and validate this thing and see like how it looks with hundreds or thousands of votes going on. So right now we only have 118 people in here, but if we get up to 1,000 people, it should work fine. I set it up to handle like 2,000 votes a second and it still worked great. So let's remove that, hit play, and let's give it a go. We'll start with the first feature. So I'm going to hit next question. And the first new thing that was in 2020, and this was in, I think it's been around since before 2020.2, but it got finalized or put into the 2020.2 package as stable for the package manager. And this is the animation rigging system. So we're not starting voting yet. I'll hit a button and then we'll have 2 minutes to go through and vote on how important or how exciting this feature is. I want to really quickly show what it is though, because if you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth understanding and checking out. So let me just pull it up real quick. The animation rigging system. Let me see, do I have a good video for it? Oh, Brackies did a great video for it. I would check their video out on it. But essentially what it'll let you do is assign some weights to things or set up sort of like an IK system without having to do a whole lot of extra work. So you can set a target to look at things or set a weight to, oh man, I wish I had a good explanation for this. I felt like I had a really good explanation for this earlier. I even built a little demo for it and then I totally spaced on it as I was going through this. So let me just pull up the one that I would watch. If you haven't seen it real quick, I'm gonna mute him real quick. This animation rigging for Unity. This video that he did on it was really good. Nice tutorial on showing what you can do with it and how you can kind of control the character. And here he's controlling the way that the character looks, the direction that the character aims, and everything else with it. So I was curious how excited people were about this feature and whether or not you even knew about it or were planning to use it. I didn't really know too much about the feature before I started diving into it. I knew it existed, but I didn't really know what some good uses for it were until I really started diving into it. And then I came up with some examples and totally spaced on them now. So I'm curious, where is everybody else with this from 1 to 10? Is this something that you think is super exciting and you really want to use? I'd say put it at a 10. Is it something that you don't think that you'll ever use because you only do 2D stuff, you don't care at all, put it at a 1, and if it's somewhere in the middle, they put it in there. So I'll hit start votes, and you got 2 minutes. Just put in the number that you think is most accurate. Just type it right in, and it should pop right up on the screen, show in our little thing, and everybody will see your vote, and you'll see your vote, and we'll see what the numbers come out at. I'm really curious on this one. Like I said, I was pretty excited about it once I understood what I could do with it and how cool it was. Let's see. What have we got here? Oh, votes are starting to come in. Lots of 10s. Wow. This one is more popular than I would have expected. Nice. I was going to put this, let me put in my vote. I'm going to put this at probably an 8. I'm very excited about it, or pretty excited about it. I think I'll use it in quite a few projects. Wow, this is very high up here on the 10s. Look at that. Whoa, 16 10s. Got lots and lots of votes. I wonder if 2 minutes might have been too long for voting. I wanted to give enough time that if we had time in between, or that we could talk about things, but also we had time while it was going on. So if anybody was delayed or something, they could get their votes in. But if it ends up being too much time, I also made it just a serialized field, so we can just slide that down and speed up the vote timer to something else. So yeah, I think I will do a video on the animation system, by the way, the animation rigging. I think it was cool, and like I said, I started building one out, and I had some ideas for it, but it's just not quite ready yet. And there are a couple other things I've got to finish up first. Just doing a persistence video, something people have asked for a lot, to doing local and remote persistence stuff, and then lots of advanced coursework stuff that I'm working on. So then I think animation rigging it might tie into the coursework stuff though, so maybe I'll get a video on it then. So it should be a lot of fun. The animation rigging is a pretty neat system. It looks like votes are starting to wrap up. We only got a couple more seconds here. There's a little bit of a delay, but I also put in, you'll see once this gets to the end, but there's a little bit of a extra timer there, a grace period that I put in. And that was to deal with the delay of the stream. I knew that no matter what I did, there would always be at least 5, 10, 15 seconds delay. So for the last couple seconds after the countdown finishes, it actually just lies and says that it's finalizing votes. It's still just keeping going until that disappears off my screen. So that way you've got a couple seconds after the timer counts down. But it worked out great as a little system there. So here we go. We got the results. The most popular score was a 9 with 19 votes. That's actually a lie. So that's a bug, right? The most popular score was a 10. I can see it right below with 19 votes. So I messed up my indexes here, and I did this a couple times when I was working on this. I was going from, I had 10 scores, 1 to 10, and I zero indexed in one spot, and it propagated around and messed things up, and I tried to fix it, and I've got to fix that up, but there we go. I had one bug. Most popular score was a 10, and it came in with a 6.7 to 67 votes. Out of 146 people, only 67 voted. All right, let's hit next and see what the next question is. I'm curious. It does filter duplicate votes. Yes, it'll take. So people are asking about how does it filter them. What it does is it'll actually take the votes. It'll take your last vote and count that, and it'll only take each person's last vote, and it just uses like your YouTube chat ID or whatever it was. There's some name in there that was unique, and it uses that as a key in a dictionary. Okay, let's see. So the next question. Oh, whoops! I forgot to trim those values there. The nice long bouncing. That's weird. Why is it a 7.4? But the other thing. Okay, I think that there's a bug in my final reporting, and I've got to fix that. Ah, man. Oh, what are you gonna do? We at least have a good idea of how things will lay out, because we'll get relative scores for everything in the end. All right. So root namespace field in assembly definitions. So for this, what you can do, let's see if I move this down, you can see it a little bit better. But what you can do now is set up a root namespace for all of your assemblies so that they just, or for all of your scripts so that they get automatically added to it. This is something that normally happens in like Visual Studio or outside of Unity and just wasn't around before. There was probably an extension that would do it, but I never really looked for one because I still don't really namespace things heavily in Unity. But this might be an exciting thing for people, so I was curious to see if it is. So let's vote and see how excited you were about root namespaces in assembly definitions. I was going to put this at like a 3 just because I probably won't use it very often. But I'm curious, I think that there are probably a good number of people who are excited about it and will use it all the time and use namespaces. So I'm curious how I compare to everybody else. Or, oh, looks like we're very varied here so far. Just all across the board. Oh, yep. A little bit. Oh, yeah. It's right around a 5, it looks like. I don't know. I guess we'll find out in a few minutes. So if you don't use namespaces, by the way, they're just a method for kind of segregating your code or separating it out. So if you've got like a bunch of different classes, and it comes in a lot handier when you have a larger project. But when you have a bunch of different classes, it's easy to not know exactly where those classes are, how they relate to things. Namespaces can help with that, but it allows you to avoid conflicts of things. So if you end up with multiple objects or multiple classes that have the same name, you can get away with that with namespaces. It's not a really common thing, but it happens with like super common names of things, like a vector 3, for example. Unity has its own vector 3, and I've seen plenty of other people build their own custom vector 3 implementations that they needed for something like networking. Or there are lots of other just different random examples like button. You might have something that has a class named button and it would be in a different namespace than the Unity Engine UI button. In fact, if you type in button in Unity and then you hit add references or add the using statements automatically, there's like 4 different options, and those are all the different namespaces that all have a different class named button. So this is kind of just a way to automatically add them into a namespace and build a habit out of that. Let's see. We go very polarized. Look at that. Lots of ones and lots of nines. I'm gonna say, wow, that's a very, very polarized, but it kind of ends up right in the middle. Lots of people don't care at all, and lots of people think it's really cool. Hey, well, again, the most popular score was a 1, not a 0. That's just a lie. And it came in at a 5.04. Not bad. I'm going to jump on to the next question so I can blab about that because I don't remember what it was. Oh, editor coroutines. This was one I actually didn't know was in 2020.2 until I was going through the list. And I thought, oh, that seems kind of worth talking about. So, editor coroutines is essentially just coroutines that you can run in editor mode. So, I guess for custom inspectors and custom editors and stuff. I have no idea what I would use these for. Seems like they could be kind of cool, and there are probably some really good uses for it. I can imagine that there have probably been cases where I wanted to use these and I realized I couldn't. And I just can't think of any right now. So I'm gonna put this. Yeah, I see a lot of numbers coming in. I'll put in my vote. Curious what everybody else is gonna come in at though. On editor coroutines, I think that if you do a lot of custom editor work, they could be really handy, right? Like you could be, I don't know. I guess you could do quite a bit. They're probably also handy for plugin developers or like extensions, things that you would add to the asset store. So if anybody has a really cool idea for what you would use an editor coroutine for too, you can drop that in chat along with well, after you vote on it, let me know too. I'm kind of curious what people think and what other ideas people have for editor coroutines they think might be fun. There's lots and lots of votes here. We got lots of 10s, lots of 5s. Yeah, I was in at a 5 too, so that sounds sounds about right to me. But yeah, I could see a 10 too for the people who are really into it. They're just voting on how excited we are about the editor coroutines feature in here. So somebody just talking about making your own debugger as an option for a thing you could do. Yeah, so just how useful, and not so much how useful, yeah, I guess how useful we think they are for like our own personal stuff. So like if you'll never use editor coroutines, they're probably like a 1. If you use editor stuff all the time, they're probably like a 10 because they're super important for you. If you have no idea, somewhere in the middle, right, on just how excited you are about it. So just trying to get an idea of like what things people are really pumped about, what things people are not as excited about, and mostly just so that we can all see each other's opinions and then kind of have an idea of what things we might want to go look at. This gives me some ideas of things to go look at. Whatever's on the top will definitely be something that I'll dive into, and I'm sure that other people watching will probably be in the same boat where they want to see the things that people are most excited about. Make sure that we at least don't miss those because there's a ton of stuff in these updates. I went through the list, and I mean there were, I don't know how many things in this. It was just a giant, giant list, and I just picked out like half a dozen or a dozen of them that we could talk about. So, editor coroutines slightly more popular than root namespace field and assembly definition, and a little bit less than animation rigging. Not by much. And we're getting more votes. We're up to 63 votes. Last time we only had 47. And the most popular vote, again, just add 1 to that, was a 5, because that's my bug, my off by 1. See, it doesn't matter how long you've been coding, you still screw stuff up all the time. At least I will. All right, let's go on to the next question. So this next one, I have my guesses on how it's going to end up, but it's essentially that they've added C#8 support. So this adds a bunch of new, well, I shouldn't say a bunch of new. It adds a couple new C# features. The only one that you don't get is the interface default methods or default implementations. So if we look up C#8 features, let's just look them up real quick. I can go through them and we'll just blab about them. So what do we got here? We got read-only members. So we can make a, what was this one? Oh yeah, that's just for, so there's a lot of stuff in C#8 about making things not nullable, so that you can set up objects that essentially can't be null. Let's see, what else do we have in here? We've got default interface methods, which we don't have. Pattern matching on switches and properties and tuples, and positional patterns. Positional patterns isn't one that I've actually used, but I'd like to probably check that out. Where is that? See, positional patterns. Oh, okay. So kind of deconstructing like this. Sorry, I gotta hide the votes for just a second. What else was in C#8 that was really exciting? No null coalescing assignment. Interesting. What else? Sorry, I'm just going through the stuff now. I can't even remember the things. It's new to Unity, so it's not something that I've dug into enough. Quite a few little things in here though. I don't know. I don't know if I want to go over them all because I'm not going to hit them in 30 seconds and be able to explain them all. But if we just drag it over here, you see tons and tons and tons of new stuff in C#8. Yeah. So we'll see how excited everybody is about it. So I don't need to sell everyone on it. The votes are extremely high already. I'm gonna put my vote in at like a big fat 9. Looks like the most popular vote is definitely a 10 though, and this is probably going to be the most popular feature is my guess. Guess we'll find out in a few minutes once we get through the rest of these things. Oh, we're kind of tied. I think that 10 probably wins it though here, because we got a vote right at the end on number 9, but 9 and 10 were both right at the same. So it's looking good though. Came in at a 745. All right, let's see. What was the next one? So they updated the scene. Oh, okay. So this one I thought was worth talking about, even if it wasn't probably the most exciting one, because people might get excited about it and not know that it exists. So in the newest version in 2020.2, you can now take multiple objects from your project view and drag them into the scene hierarchy or the scene view too. I think it works in both of them. This is something that used to drive me nuts when I would have like 10 models that I wanted to grab and I wanted to just pop them all out in the scene and have to drag them one at a time. Now I can select all and drop them all out. Whether or not that's important and useful, I don't really know. I guess we'll find out in a second. Let's start voting and find out how exciting and useful it is. I thought it was kind of cool. Definitely not a 10 for me, but it wasn't a 1 either. So it's curious where everybody's at on this thing. I'm gonna put this at like a 4. Actually, I should shut up on my votes and see what everybody else votes about. Make sure I don't influence anything. Don't let my vote influence you here. This is not a vote I have given much thought to. Let's see what we're at here. All right. Start to come in. We got some 4s, 5s, 9s. People like to drag things in. Yeah, I do too. I just hate the slowness of having to drag multiple things in. So far, this thing seems to be working pretty well. I'm kind of surprised. I kind of expected it to fall apart. Oh, I did realize I just covered my face with or I covered up the tin there. But I kind of expected this thing might fall apart or run into some API errors or something. I did slow down the query time to once every 10 seconds, so it only checks for votes every 10 seconds to make sure that I don't overload the API and get locked out. I did when I was testing it out. It eventually hit the quota, and there was a process to extend out the quota, but I didn't know if it was really worth going through a whole process for a thing that I was probably going to stream once. And by the way, if people like really want to see how this thing works, I could definitely do a video of it and share the code and the art. I think that everything in here is totally open sourceable and shareable. Like, it could give you guys all this stuff. You just have to have your own YouTube channel and chat key, and then go through the process of getting that chat key. But I could probably put that into a video. So if people are interested in that, just drop a comment below after the stream and let me know, and maybe I'll pop together a video on how to build one of these. I just don't know if it's the thing that enough people would really care about, because like, it's a lot of work to set it up, and then you got to get people going and talk. No. Who really wants to build YouTube games? Probably not that many people. But if there's a ton of a demand for it, then hey, why not? You do something cool like that. All right, let's see, where are we at? We're up to, oh, looks like 5 was the most popular. Oh no, 9. Oh, look at that. 9 came in at the last second with a bunch of flipped votes. All right, the most popular vote was a 9. Again, just increase that by 1. And it came at 575, so slightly over editor coroutines, slightly below animation rigging. What was next? Okay, this was, oh, okay. I'm going to talk about this one for just a minute. So this one's long, but essentially in the editor, like when you're dragging things around, let's pause. You can now right click and set things as a default parent. So I can set this as the default parent, and then when I drag crap out to the scene hierarchy here, if I had something that was not a UI element and I drug it out here, it would become a child of that object. So that's what it does, and I thought it was pretty cool. Pretty neat little feature if you want to drag things out, especially if you like to set up your scenes where you have like an environment root object or something like that, where you're dragging all the things as children except for a couple other objects. So I thought this was really cool. I want to see what everybody else thinks. Let's hit the button and get those votes in. Yeah, I guess, yeah, combining this with the multi-drag one, they kind of like, they go together for sure. I think that it makes a neat combination. You just drag all these things out, make them children of stuff. But even just like thinking of building out like a 2D game, I want to just drag out my sprites and have them all be underneath some environment object or the environment object that I'm working on. I could set up like my scene with different sections and then have a root hierarchy object for the different sections and just set that as the one I'm working with when I want to drag things out. Just make it a little bit easier, I think, and a little bit faster to manage the hierarchy if you get used to using it. Now, I don't know if that's actually the case, but that's my thought and my experiment is going to be. So now that 2020.2 is starting to feel stable with 2020.2, I think it is 1 or F1 or whatever it was, the second version of it feels quite a bit more stable. So I've been using it, and I guess we'll find out for sure how useful this thing is, but it seemed pretty good to me. So I guess we'll see where everybody else is at too. A lot of 7s, so I'm gonna jump on the 7 bandwagon real quick to see how that goes. Just keep pumping it up. And you can just change your vote. Just put in whatever number you think is accurate for this thing. Just pop it in there. You can change it at any time, and then your name will pop right up there too. So let's see. What else do I want to talk about with this thing? With dragging these out, I guess not much really. If you don't, by the way, if you don't organize your scene hierarchies with some root game objects or set up some sort of folder structure, at least for your general environment, I would recommend giving it a try. Now, I wouldn't do it for like all of your objects where you have a giant hierarchy of a bunch of folders, but having at least like some stuff that has all of your props in it, like just all your root props and all those are in there. Assuming that your scene is small enough that you can fit them all in and it's not unmanageable, you don't need to break that down more. But definitely try out setting up a root for your hierarchy or just folders in general. So let's see what we got here. The total vote came in at, we got a lot of 7s. Let's see. So it's going to be the most popular one is going to lie and tell us it was a 6, but it was a 7. And the total vote was 5.75. We still only got 66 votes. That's sad. All right. On the next one, let's go to the next question. Wait a minute. I already asked this question. We're going to skip that one. Good thing the next button lets us skip one. All right, so here's the big one. In the scripting system, if you remember, if you've been using Unity for a while, Camera.main was an issue where essentially the way that it works is, let's pause this real quick. Go look at the main camera. The way that Camera.main works in code is it wraps secretly a call to find camera with tag, and it looks for main or find object with tag main camera, and then I think it does get component camera. So it gets the camera component from the object with the main tag. Finding the object with the tag and getting the component is relatively slow, so people would generally want to cache that main camera. Now, however, you don't have to do that, because if you use Camera.main, it is cached automatically. So the system now just takes into account that because they set that up as a default way to get the main camera, and because it is really helpful and useful, they just made it fast. Instead of leaving it slow and saying, hey, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. This works okay, but don't do it. They just made it quick. So now it's fast and you can use Camera.main and it will just work. Assuming you have one camera. If you have multiple cameras, you're still going to run into issues where you need to manage like what camera is being controlled or what camera is visible. But overall, just using Camera.main now is fast. So let's hit start votes and see where everybody comes in on this one. I'm really curious to see how it impacts beginners projects, but I'm also just personally, I have to say, like, I'm biasedly excited about it because I don't have to say don't use Camera.main in every video ever again. Like I never have to mention that again in a video. I never have to say, hey, I'm doing this, but it's slow. We should really cache this. So that's like the saver for me. I'm glad to see that a lot of people agree with me. That's kind of funny. Yeah, it's just the fact that I've had to say that so many times. I really hate the scaling here, by the way, on these bars. Like the 10 is so much higher in votes proportionally, but the way that they're set up right now, they're actually just in a ranked stacked order. So the first place one is 100%, second place is 90%, third place is 80%, and so on. Now that works great if we have like a lot of votes, but with only 60 or so votes, that's not nearly as useful. So if everybody hits the button and just votes or hits the thumbs up button so that we get more people in here voting, that would definitely I guess help fix that bar, make it look a little bit cooler. All right. So yeah, everybody really likes the that feature. Yeah, oh, and somebody just mentioned that it makes the code smaller too. The fact that you don't have to rewrite the code to go get the main camera makes the code smaller. And I think that's really a good point. And it's the reason that things like Camera.main exist and why they were a good idea when they were created. Like, a lot of time people go, it's terrible because it leads to a bad habit or bad practice, but really it leads to an easy way to do something that everybody needs to do in every project all the time. Now, that, of course, there are going to be edge cases. Somebody might not need to do it in some project, but you pretty much always need to get the camera. And in the majority of projects, you have one of them, and it's just that easily accessible one that's already there. So I kind of like it. Yeah, and apparently it is a very, very popular feature. I don't know if I have any more questions after this one or any more things to vote on after this one. So the top one came in. It was definitely a 10 with 41 votes. We just go grab a couple more. So that one came in at 7.78, slightly higher than adding script support. And a couple more votes. I think we only had like 47 votes on that script support one. All right, let's see. Oh, we ran out of questions. All right. So let's see. Are there other things we should vote on? Vote 0 to drop Jason in the gunk tank. Nice. Okay. Well, let's see if we can just add in some more. So let me show you guys how this works real quick. So if you go to this YT Connect object that I have here and this voting controller script, it's got a list. Oh, no, sorry. It's this questions controller. I made a voting controller and a question controller and then a chat vote collector. So the chat one just kind of scans and looks for votes. I don't want to bore you with the code because it's not very clean or very readable. But that one scans for votes. This one handles the process of managing the game flow. The voting controller goes through collecting votes, doing the countdown, starting the countdown, ending things, and requesting a question from the question controller. The question controller I think it gets the next question, and then it updates the text objects that show what the question is. And then here are my questions. So one of the other things, hey, let's add this in. Let's clear this out. Because look here, I'm in 2020.2 and I can rearrange things. I can select them and just delete them and all that. I think I can even, I can't batch select, can I? Let's delete them all out though. And let's add one in for this drag drop functionality, right? So rearrange lists in inspector. Now, of course, we lost our top scores, but I don't think anybody really cares. And then let's see, what's another one? No, this is a, I believe it's a list, not an array, but it works for arrays and lists. Yeah, here, we'll pull it over here. So it was this one right here, this serialized private list of questions. This is what we're seeing as this rearrangeable list. So we'll put rearrange lists and arrays, an inspector. Is there another one? Let's get at least one more thing to vote on that's a new 2020 or 2020.2 feature. Doesn't have to be specifically 2020.2. Is there anything that you guys or somebody in here is really excited about that thinks we should vote on? Drop it in chat real quick, and then we'll pop it up into the list real quick. Maybe we'll add a couple more and see what everybody's excited about. Oh, somebody said they liked that I did it all in Unity. Thanks. Yeah, it was fun doing it in Unity, just being able to build a game or a whole system in here. You know what? I just realized. Let me go into edit mode. I want to make sure that my Okay, cool. Make sure everything was good. Oh, ECS. Yeah, I mean that's not a 2020.2 thing, but yeah, let's add that in ECS. Let's just call it dots. What it is, right? So the data-oriented tech stack. I think that's a great one. I'll just put dots /ECS so that everybody knows what we're talking about there. New Unity recorder. Let's try that. Unity recorder for trailers. Definitely more people should know about Unity's rider integration. Prefab mode in context. Oh, that's a cool one too. I'll add that one. All right, and then let's add one for a possible networking system. Because I'd heard rumors they were making something. I still don't really know the details, so we'll see. All right, let's go through these. I'm very curious to see how everybody compares these to the other ones. The most exciting thing was like on the last one was Camera.main at 772. So let's see what comes in higher, or if anything comes in higher. Rearranging lists and arrays in the inspector. I'm going to really quickly show what that was again. So in here in the inspector now, 2020.2, I can rearrange my questions just by dragging them around. In fact, there, I just did it. Let's hit play and watch now and vote on this thing. So hit start votes. How excited is everybody about rearranging arrays? Put in your vote from 1 to 10. I think it's a pretty freaking cool feature, so I'm going to put in my vote. But I'm curious to see where this one lines up. I get the sense that this one's going to line up pretty high because it's something that everybody's wanted to do all the time. Yeah, it's definitely a feature that a lot of people have asked for and used extensions just to get. So I think it's probably going to be up there. Yeah, lots of 9s and 10s here. Is it going to beat the set? What was it, 772? If anybody has the ability to rewind and watch, they'll know if I'm wrong on that. But I think that was the highest on the last one. All right, come on. What do we got for votes? Let's see if we can get up to 100 votes this time. We got 152 people here. Actually, if you guys don't mind just hitting the like button and sharing the video. If you already voted, just go drop a link on Facebook and get a couple more people in here, or wherever you drop links on, whatever that is. I don't know. People use nowadays. But yeah, go share it and hit the thumbs up button and stuff. Naughty attributes does it for me. Yeah, there are a lot of attributes that allow for things like this too, and or not attributes, but really extensions that give attributes, or things like Odin Inspector would allow this. So if you didn't have Odin and you haven't used some of these things, this is probably a much more exciting feature. For me, it's exciting because I can't really use those on most projects and most like YouTube videos. I can't require people have some extension, so I generally just avoid them for those. And now I get to use them in all of these, so that makes it pretty exciting for me. If I could use extensions for everything, it would probably be a little bit less exciting, but since I can't, it's really cool. Yeah, already shown Boomer Simpsons. Yep. Ever since my hair turned gray. All right, where are we at? 5, 4, 3. Last seconds for votes. 2, 1. All right, that's it. See if everybody voted. Got 155 people. Did they all vote? I bet they did. I'm just kidding. Okay. All right. Next question is going to be 727. This one, oh man, now I'm going to have to rewind and look, but this one's right up there at the top with Camera.main. I like that everybody agrees with me though, and has the same ones as exciting. So this one, I rearranged things when we just did that rearranging. Was not so much a thing that is there, but a thing that I've heard is coming many times and I'm excited about, but I don't know really the details. And this is a new networking system for Unity that will make things easier to do network games, I guess. I don't know the details of it, but assuming that there's going to be some new awesome networking system that just works right the way that you want it to, how exciting is that? I would say for me, that's like a pretty good one. Assuming that this is again, this is our hypothetical network system because I don't know the details of it. Assuming a hypothetical one where it just works, everything does what you want it to do, and you can build the basic kinds of games like an FPS or a simple RPG or shooter or something, or maybe like a racing game. Like a couple little samples show that, something like that. Curious. I mean, heck, even like a simple thing that lets you just move characters around with some good prediction and shoot things would be cool, right? Like a simple FPS one that doesn't handle 1,000 players and super low pings, but just works would be good. I'm curious to see how it is. It looks very, very popular. Wow. Lots of tens. A very in demand thing, I guess. Wow. Okay. 34 tens. This is probably going to be the most popular one, and I hadn't even thought of it. An in-house solution for leaderboards. I wonder if that would come. That might be something that they add. It might actually exist. I wonder. All right. So I'm just reading through chat. They're talking about the dots net code. Interesting. Yeah, I need. It's something I need to dig into the whole dots, the whole new networking code stack too, because I've heard stuff about it, but I haven't done anything with it lately, or I haven't had anything to do with it lately, so I haven't really dug into it. Oh, 778 was the previous high. Thank you, Jeffrey, for checking that out. So Camera.main was at a 778. I think that this is looking a little more popular. We got a couple more seconds for votes. Just drop them in though. Last couple votes are in. I definitely got to fix these bars. So I think before I do a video, if I do a video showing how to build something like this, um, definitely got to fix those bars. By the way, even if I don't do a video on it, I could probably just open source it and make it available. So if people want it and want a copy of it, let me know. I can probably just put it up somewhere so you can grab it. All right, so 8.1. So a possible net. The one thing that isn't a real thing yet, or isn't a thing that I have any details on yet, is the most popular at an 8.1. All right, let's go to the next question. New rider integration. I don't know if this is new, or what the newest parts are, but I saw it and I thought it was curious or interesting enough to talk about. So I'm going to hit the vote button and just talk really briefly about it. So if you haven't used Rider, by the way, this is made everything minimized by dragging it over and breaking windows. But this is essentially Rider. It's a code editor that's a lot like Visual Studio, but it's, I'd say, I don't know how to explain it. I prefer it, right? The best way that I can explain it is I prefer it for Unity specific code. And the main reason for that is that I feel like the integration, the Unity specific integration for it is really, really on point. It's just good. It gives really good tips and reasons for doing things. If you're doing something wrong, it will tell you. And if you want to change something, it will tell you. But here it's giving me a little warning saying that this field could be made read only. I mean, of course, most editors will do this and give some tips. The difference here is that Rider tends to give more tips and better tips than the alternatives, at least in my experience. So here are the total votes. Wow, we got like almost no votes on this. Nobody gives a damn about Rider, right? And it's really not a new thing. So again, not that exciting. I'm gonna vote it in at an 8 because I just think it's cool and an exciting thing to have. But yeah, the vote count, maybe it was because I was hiding the votes and nobody knew that voting was going on. But wow, I lost my train of thought. But overall, like Rider is just, it's a really cool editor for just making your code better. And I guess the biggest thing that I like about it is that when I'm looking at something and it's recommending things, it very often will lead you to an article that will explain what's wrong. Let me see if I can let me do this. Let me see. See if I can pop one up. There we go. So here we go. If I change this, now I just have to make sure I don't save. So if I change this and I added in some bad code here and I get the error, I can actually see why it's gonna is it gonna give me the possible thing? Oh, why is writer suggesting this? I can click on that little thing and it'll pop up and give me actual explanations of why it's recommending things or why it's making every recommendation in context to Unity. And this is really the biggest thing about it. So it'll go through and give you extreme detail on why it's making a recommendation. In this case, it was to not use question mark dot set text in this case because the question text could be null. In fact, here it's even warning me that it could be null too. So it's giving me another warning saying, hey, fix this or fix this thing. Let's clear that up and go look at the votes. 5.59. Yeah, that's kind of what I expected. Again, I just like Rider, so I wanted to blab about it. And I just broke everything by saving the file in here. So let's go back in and hit play. And let's watch this. We'll use our rearranging. So we'll pause. We'll rearrange this list, and I'll move the 2 that I already did. Actually, you know what? What's the point of that? Let's go select them and delete them. Delete and delete. And let's. Oh wait. Undo. I didn't do dots and ECS. Okay, delete that one, and we'll delete the writer integration one and the networking because I already did those. There we go. Now I hit play. Try to do it. Thankfully, Control Z is your friend if you use Unity. Make sure that you get used to hitting Control Z to undo things. I mean, if you use a computer, make sure that you get used to hitting that. All right, so dots and ECS. If you don't know what dots or ECS are, I don't think that I can give a good enough overview of it here for you to really make a judgment. But if you do know and you're excited about dots, put in that 10. It looks like we've already got a lot of those coming in. If you don't, if you're not as excited, put in the value that your excitement level about dots and ECS. So for anybody, I guess, who wants the quick 15-second version of it, it's essentially DOTS is short for, or acronym for, Data Oriented Tech Stack, and it's essentially a system or a set. I don't know if you call it just a system. It's kind of like an entire ecosystem of a way of building games. I hate those bars. Like the 2 was so close to the 10 when they're not even close. I will fix that if we ever do this again. But essentially, what it is your or it's how do I explain this again? It's a system where the way that the game is built is focused heavily on performance and the way that data is laid out in the system so that you can maximize reading and writing of memory and optimize performance for rendering and just doing kind of crazy extreme things. It also, that optimization doesn't just let you do crazy things. It also is like optimization. And whenever you optimize things, you reduce things like power usage and just wear on stuff. So you're going to save energy if you're good with dots, and you can really kind of push the bounds with it and do a lot of extra stuff. But it's a very big mindset change and a very big coding paradigm change as well. There's a lot to it, and I think it's getting close to a point where a lot of people are starting to use it. So it's something that people should definitely look into, and it looks like it's pretty damn popular. So this, we're at a lot of 10s. I think that this one might even beat with the other one, which was like the 776, I think. All right, we got 2 more after this. We'll vote on those and take a couple questions and then go from there. Let's see, what do we got here? Grabbing final votes. A couple more seconds. By the way, like I said, this is really just, I cheated and made the countdown timer end and then say this text for a variable amount of time that I can just control it, on that object. I think it's set to 15 seconds. Most popular score was a 10 because this is broken. And it came in at a 7.18. Almost as popular as Camera.main. That's interesting. Oh, fair enough. I guess, Camera.main hits everybody. All right, so Unity Recorder for trailers. This is something I actually didn't realize was in there. So I'm curious to check this out and kind of dig into it. So this would be recording thing, I assume, for just recording video for trailers, but you could probably use it to record other things like cinematics. Usually the Unity recorder, at least the way it worked before, was you could record the positions and rotations and I think velocity and stuff of multiple objects over time and then play that back. So you would be able to use this for not just trailers, but I think in-game stuff as well. I really need to dig into it and know what I'm talking about, but I think that that's how it worked. I'm going to give this a good, give it a vote. see where this thing comes in. It looks kind of popular too. Where are we at? Lots of 9s. Lots and lots of 9s, some 10s. Not many other votes. Our total vote count is really, really low. I feel like I need to crank up the voting counting timer so people will see their names more often. Let's hit pause. Let's see that. Chat check delay. We'll set that to 5 so that names are constantly bouncing up there. So now if you vote, your name is, there's going to be a name. Actually, let's set this to 4. We're going to crank this up. We only got a couple more questions to vote on. We'll let everybody vote really, really fast. Let everybody's name stay up there as long as you vote and your name shows up, right? I don't know. It seemed like a good motivator. Let's see what we get in at. We got lots and lots of 9s on the Unity recorder. I wonder what other kinds of things we could vote on. I wonder if I'm going to sneeze too. I feel like I'm going to. Oh, somebody's food arrived. Understandable. I would head out too if my food was here. I hear lots and lots of votes coming in. I don't know why some of these, like, the votes come in and then it asks me to hit show. It's like it filters them out, like Nathan's just popped up. Strangest thing ever. I don't know what it is. Like the message is no different either. It'll say like 10, hit show button, 10. Like, what's the difference between that 10 and the other 2 10s? I don't know. The algorithm's catching them, I guess. It probably just needs you to hit the thumbs up button so that it doesn't do that anymore. All right, where are we at for final votes? It looks like 9 was the most popular, and we're going to get lied to with an 8 any second now. And X Gamer popped up in the last second of that. Even got into the final score. All right, so 23 of them and 64 total votes. I don't remember what this next question was, but I'm going to hit the button and see. Oh, prefab mode in context. So if you haven't seen this, I don't want to break things again. Oh, I don't know if I have a prefab here, but you can essentially go into prefab edit mode while you're still seeing the thing in the game or in this position that it's in, and get the same benefits that you get from prefab edit mode. So if you've used prefab edit mode before, it's a little bit weird because it kind of like pops you into this empty scene and all you see is the object totally out of context. And now it allows it for in context. So that's it. I'm going to hit the button and just let people start voting on it. So how excited are you about editing prefabs or having prefab mode in context? I mean, it's really just kind of like the next iteration or the next version of prefab mode. I really like it. I mean, if you haven't used prefab mode yet and you haven't really played with it and you're still using the really old system of just dragging things out, working on them, and then hitting apply, prefab edit mode will definitely be nice for you. It's really helpful. So when you get into the habit of it, or when you upgrade to the latest versions of Unity and start using it, you see, I just like it. I don't know how to explain it other than it's cool. Like it's a pretty neat little feature. I'm gonna give it my vote too. Let's see where I want to put this in that. Pretty cool. This is just the addition of it going into in context. Let's see. While that's going, what other stuff did I want to talk about? I guess I wanted to see if, I don't know, maybe I just take a couple questions, see if people had questions or anything else that you guys think would be fun or interesting to vote on. So anybody got any Unity questions you guys wanted to ask real quick, or anything you want to ask about just general game dev? And anything that you want to put up for a vote, and we can just all randomly vote on it. I'll drop it into the text and we'll see what happens. I'm just going to watch chat and see. I'll take a drink while I do that. I'll read my nice little YouTube letter from, oh, this one's from Susan. The other one was from Rick. All right, are you planning on doing a Dots live stream? Not soon, but I could definitely do that. That would be fun. Let's see. Are you thinking to start a big project? Got one kind of going on, but it's more teaching related right now. Let's see, what else? OOP versus data oriented. I would say it's good to know and understand both. The majority of your code is going to be somewhat pretty much OOP, the most of the stuff that you're going to see, but you really need to be thinking about the data stuff for specific. It's really hard to, I wouldn't limit yourself to one or the other, I guess is what I would say. It's hard to really say how to do that. Okay, poll how much projects people dropped. Okay, yeah, let's do that. I'll add that in and see how many projects have you abandoned, and then it can be 10. 10 will be the 10 or more, and I'll keep going over questions too. Let's just drop that in here. How many projects have you abandoned? All right, I like that one. That's gonna be a fun one. And then we'll just delete, or I'll leave these blank, and maybe we'll fill them in with more questions as people go by. I'll just hit vote. People can vote on theirs too. All right, so let's see. Have you explored Project Tiny? I have not. So Project Tiny, for anybody who hasn't used it, is it's a system, or it's a way for, I don't even want to try to explain it really, but essentially like to build tiny builds of Unity for environments where you have performance or memory or storage constraints, like embedded type things, other devices. I don't really know all of the uses for it, but it does seem kind of useful. I just don't have any particular use myself for it, so I haven't dug into it. And the question is, how many projects have you abandoned? 10 could be 10 or more, and that is definitely the number for me, right? I think over time everybody's going to get up to that. Somebody's asking about pros and cons versus of character controller versus rigid body. I generally prefer using a rigid body over a character controller, just because the character controller, it's set up as an easy way to control things and set kind of handle like the basics of a character, but it has its own ideas and ways for doing things, and I generally want a little bit more control, and I just use a rigid body instead of a character controller. Personal preference. I think that depending on what you're going to build, you might start with character controller and then switch to a rigid body later. Let's see. I don't use Unity. I use Unreal, but I like to watch your videos. Oh, thank you. As a beginner, what are some milestones to track my progress? I would say the biggest ones are releasing small projects or finishing small projects. So they don't have to be good, they don't have to be great, they don't have to be super polished and done, but getting little games done, building them, each one of those I would count as a milestone. I would set those up as milestones too, to finish some number of games over the first year. It might sound like crazy and daunting, but think of them as games that an experienced developer could do in a week or a day, and that might take you a month or 2 months or 3 months to build, and that you're going to be learning from. These are learning experience projects where you're going to have fun, enjoy it, but mostly be learning and not expect to be building things that are going to turn you into a billionaire or something like that. So that's what I would do, is set up a bunch of different projects for those. Now the specifics of those things, like what should be in those projects, it's kind of hard to say. I would start with very, very simple stuff, like mobile games that have a single mechanic, one thing in it, like you tap the button and the little thing flies out, and if it hits the circle, you're good. If it doesn't, you fail. That's where I would start, and then build up to more and more complex games, but slowly. Make sure that once it gets easy, go on to the next phase. Let's see what else we got here. That was a long one. So, how do you decide when's the right time to bring your game to Steam with early access? I have a project I'm working on, but I'm only the second level progress wise. So I did the stream last week on this with Chris, who's releasing a Steam game, and his recommendation, and a lot of people's recommendation, is to get your game up on Steam right away. Maybe not release it with early access to play, but definitely have it on Steam and promoted before you've even started on it, so as early as possible. And then get people in betas first, get them in testing it, get through the whole Steam process, and then move on to either early access or a full release. But I would say that watch the video from last week if you have a chance. Just go through it. It was long. It was insightful. Chris, like I said, he's releasing a game next month during the sale that's going on. So he's right now going through that whole process and talked quite a bit about it. So I would definitely check that out. Do you know shaders? If yes, would you make any videos on that? I'm not very good with shaders, not as good as most developers who are good at shader development stuff. But I probably will do some videos on it sometime soon. It's been on my long-term list of things that I would like to get good enough at talking about, where I feel like I can actually teach them and convey the information right. So it's on my short list of stuff to do. What is your preferred method of source control? Generally Git, although with Unity I use Collaborate a lot as well. And then somebody asked about Godot or Godot versus CryEngine. I don't really use either anymore. I used CryEngine back in the day, and I've never used the alternative, and I just kind of stick with Unity, or Unreal would be my alternative, I think. If you need artwork drawn up, where do you go? Fiverr or Upwork or Artist Friends. So depending on if Artist Friends are available or whatnot, I might just jump onto Fiverr or something and have somebody draw something up real quick. Have you used plastic SEM? Yes, I have used plastic a little bit. It was quite a while ago though, when it was kind of in its infancy. It seems like it's been, yeah, or I don't know if it's infancy, but it was infancy with Unity at least. It seems like it's been building up though and getting better. So I'm curious about diving into it again sometime soon. I don't know if I don't know when I will. Somebody had asked if Collaborate was going away. From my understanding, no. Collaborate's going to stay around and it's going to keep getting improvements. And they're just going to keep building on it. From when I've talked to people there, that seems to be the information that I got. I don't remember who I got that from. Actually, it probably wasn't somebody actually at Unity, but somebody told me that they were continuing on with support for it indefinitely, and that it was still going to be a thing. So I would not worry too much about it. And like I said, I like using it just because it's so easy and built in. The integration makes it nice and simple. Unit testing scriptable objects is a question. I'm not sure how to answer that. You could definitely do it. I don't know what the context would be though. And then I'm on the fence about taking your program. How up to date is it? The game programmer course is in Unity 2020.1. The other courses are in older versions, Unity 2019 and older. And then the next one, which will be the big update for the architecture one, will be in 2020.2. It looks like. So it varies on the course, but the game programmer one is relatively new. It's just a couple months old. Or the Unity version, just a couple months old. In fact, it's the Unity version that I would still stick with right now for a real project. 2020.1. Point 2, like I said, just became to the point where I think it's stable. And right now I'm running this in point 2, and it feels good. I haven't run into issues, but with the 2.0 version, I was getting crashes constantly. So this seems pretty stable. I'm gonna let it sit for a little while longer, maybe wait for one more patch, but I think that point 2 is where I'm going to be updating everything to next. Why would you need to collaborate when Plastic SCM offers the same at the free tier? Why would Unity keep maintaining the products that solve the same problem? I don't know that they will. I mean, I don't know what they'll end up actually doing with Plastic, or if they'll end up making a total adjustment and a switch to Plastic and make it their default. But until they've kind of built it in and made it the default integrated one, I wouldn't assume that it's necessarily going to happen. I've seen a lot of time they buy things with the idea of maybe we'll use this, and then they just don't use it, or they just change their mind or go with something else, or they find that a lot of times you have a plan of using a system and then plans change, people change, whatever, who knows. So I'm not changing yet until we until I know for sure that that's actually going to happen, if Collaborate's going to go away. When could we expect to update on architecture course? Very soon. I actually sent an email about this earlier. I was going to send an email, I think this week, with a final survey on it for a couple things, but it's very, very soon. Said outside of live streams and a couple videos, it's pretty much the only thing I focus on now. Let's see. Let's see. Do we have any other questions? See, I don't think we had anything else on here, so I want to see if anybody's got anything else, questions or just stuff that we can put on here. Yes, there is a payment plan on there. Somebody was asking on the course checkout is on that partially set up. Anything we can vote on? Can you repeat your go-to for getting art done? Yeah, let me show that real quick. So the main places, let me just pull them up real quick so I can show them the ones that I like to use if they work. Okay, so Fiverr. Close this out. Just you can see I got a bunch of messages on here and alerts from stuff I need to read, probably from artists who've just finished stuff up. A lot of them are actually doing art that's going to be updates for the architecture coursework stuff, and then some for YouTube videos. So a lot of time if I need art for a YouTube video, like this one right here, all of this art here, and all of these elements and stuff actually came from Fiverr. They're just a UI art package that I had done, so I would have something for this and for some other things. So if you're curious, like you want to get art done, I would say Fiverr is a great place to do it. It's super cheap, and it's really, really quick and easy to do it. The best thing to do though, if you're going to use Fiverr, my recommendation is before you place an order, message the person tell them what it is that you want to do. Make sure that the package that you're going to check out with is the right one and that they're interested in it and that it's a good fit. If you just go and check out with stuff randomly, you're going to get kind of weird results and mixed results. But if you just talk to people for a few minutes before, I know you don't have to talk to them much, just a quick message, say, hey, this is what I was thinking. This is what I need. Is this something you'd like to do? If so, which package should I grab? And do that. That's what I would recommend. But it's great for just getting art. Good place to get art. And then Upwork was the alternative. That was another really good place for art. Again, if you have an artist friend though, or you have access to artists, that can be even better. But Fiverr's nice and cheap and quick. So, are those swastikas lighting up in the background? No, those are nano leaf canvases. They do look kind of weird though, because it's like I think it's 4 panels in each panel, and then they have this. Here, let me show you real quick. They have this little controller here, so you can just twist it and turn them up and down. So I can turn the brightness down. You can see they get dim. Twist it this way, they go up, and then if you twist it, it's got numbers on each side. You twist it to the number that you want, and it's a different mode. 5 is that weird light up mode. Some of them are voice activated, like this one. If I get quiet, it stops, and if I talk, it moves. And I switched to all these different modes. Half of them are voice activated, but there it goes. You can see it. So you can program them though to whatever you want. So each one of these you just set up on the little Nanoleaf app and bind it to a mode, and then people make the modes. So you just download and pick the ones that you want. I set up a couple of different ones, but mostly just left it on that weird sparkly one because it lights up a lot and it shows okay on the screen. All right, let's see. What else we got for questions? There are lots of things popping up. Some more phones over here vibrating too. I don't know where that is. All right, which game developer do you prefer for I'm not sure I understand that question. What do you think about Unreal having better graphics than Unity? It's always been an interesting thing that people talk about. So Unreal versus Unity graphics. In fact, let's put Unity graphics. I'm curious how everybody rates Unity's graphics. Unreal graphics. I'll put these up as questions people can vote on real quick for fun while we're waiting on it. Oh no, but I just broke it. Unity graphics. I'll just do one on Unity graphics. I'm curious what everybody thinks of Unity's graphics with the new rendering setup. So why not? We'll vote on that. So anyway, if my thought on it, Unity is versus Unreal. It's like which is better or why. What I think about Unreal having better graphics. In general, I would say that I think that that's often the case, and for the longest time, it was definitely the case that Unreal's graphics were dramatically better. Right? The visuals in there were quite a bit better. But one of the things that Unreal also did really well was they set up their default scenes and their default lighting really nice for good-looking visuals. It wasn't set up for performance or anything else. It was set up to look really nice. The lighting setup is really nice. Setting up nice lighting and nice visuals in general, I think, is much easier and always has been much easier in Unreal. And then I think that they've just had an advantage largely because of the defaults, but not only because they obviously had some technical advantages too. But I think that overall they're pretty close on par now. I don't know that there's a lot of giant difference anymore between Unity and Unreal's technical capabilities. I'm sure there's some stuff that they're still catching up on. I just don't know exactly what that would be. But overall, what I found is that if you switch to using the HDRP setup, if you're using the high definition render pipeline, using those HDRP projects, you're probably going to come quite a bit closer out of the box, and you can get to that level. You can get to really nice visuals. It's just not the default. And I think that probably largely stems from Unity's big jump in development. Like their big gains came from mobile when the iPhone came out and they beat everybody to iPhone support by like a year. That made a huge difference, and I think it largely influenced the direction of the engine and the way that things were, or what was focused on for quite a while, which was more on getting it to run everywhere fast, and make it so that it was accessible as well, so they could get that big growth and get the engine out there to lots of people and get lots of people building things. And now that they've done that, they're really working on making the graphics part an easy option too, but not losing that other side. That's why they're doing these other pipeline options, so you can choose between using the universal render pipeline or the high definition render pipeline. So I think that's my thoughts on it. I don't really have much else to say on it. All right, what else was there? Could you make a video about assets and utilities you use for editors like Odin, what you use and why? I think I probably could, but it would probably be pretty short because the only thing that I always use or almost always use is Rider. Everything else is kind of up in the air, and it depends. Rule Rider and Text Mesh Pro, the two things that I use in every single project. Everything else is kind of up in the air, and to be honest, even Rider is sometimes with a Unity project that's an example. I won't use it either, just because it's an example project, and I want to show people something that they've seen before. All right, what else we got here? Oh yes, Unreal has the new quick stuff. Let's see, Unreal's film and TV production stuff is really good too. Unity, I saw, seems to be catching up on that part too. I don't really use it for film and any of that stuff, so I don't know. But from what I've seen, they seem to be really pushing in there. How much do you really reuse your code between projects? I find my stuff is too tangled up, or I want to rewrite it anyway. I would say I very, very rarely reuse code between projects. There might be some little bits that I reuse every now and then. Like I'll go through and find I'll run into a problem and I'll go, I know I've solved this before. I remember where I solved it. Let me go look at it real quick and I'll go take a peek. But it's very rare that I actually like take code and just save that off and make it reusable. Every now and then I've made like a little tool here that I thought was useful that I would reuse across the project, but it's extremely rare. I say 99% of the time it's easier for me to rewrite the code in context with the thing or the game that I've worked on. And I feel like after you've done it enough times, like having that code that's already written there, unless it's doing something big and complicated that's hard to redo, like it's interfacing with some external API or something, having it around and having to figure out how it all works again is usually not any easier than just rewriting the little bit of thing that it did. Again, unless it's something big like an API wrapper type thing, something like that. All right, what else we got here? Oh, somebody just joined the course. Oh, thanks. Glad to hear it. Hopefully you really enjoy it. Let me know if you have any questions. How can I achieve awesome physics system in Unity? I'm not sure. I mean, the built-in physics system is pretty good, and they're working on some stuff to make it, I think, more extensible. And I believe they were making it so you could swap out the physics system, but I can't remember if that was only for 2D or if that was 2D and 3D. But I'm not sure. It depends on what the specific issues you're running into. Can I mine Bitcoin with Unity? Oh, not really. I mean, you could probably run some Bitcoin miner inside the process, but I don't think it would be efficient. It seems like it would probably be one of the worst ways to do it, and the least power efficient ways. When the people mine Bitcoin now, I mean, they build these little boxes that are essentially chips set up and designed custom to mine Bitcoin the most efficiently for the least amount of power. That, and then they use GPUs and software that's heavily optimized to maximize the amount of work you can do for the amount of electricity, because the whole point there is like getting the cost to mine a Bitcoin below the cost of a Bitcoin. So I would say Unity or any game engine is probably not the way that you want to mine Bitcoin. You can make a game about mining Bitcoin there though. That could be fun. How about video about addressable assets and streaming assets? I think I'd like to do that sometime soon. The problem I've had with it is it just isn't a feature that most people are ready for. So the demand is really, really low there because most people don't have that much content that they want to know how to do the streaming or addressables. And when they do, the people that do run into that issue usually don't have the time to wait for the video. So they're like, they've already solved the problem. So it's just not a super common thing, but it is something I'd like to hit sometime soon. Can we poke around the large world tracking at some point? Okay, like methods to maintain where objects are and reveal them when a character is close enough. Oh, that could be interesting. Something like that. So, maybe I can shove that into my persistence video. So I'm putting together as one of the requests that a lot of people have had, a video on how to do persistence in Unity, how to like save your level, your gameplay state, like, you know, how much money your character has, what things you've opened, and where things are, and then load that up and have multiple like game saves essentially. So I think that might be something that I could fit into there too, because it could just make the world bigger and then maintain some of that stuff and then even save it off. So possibly that could be cool. Somebody said they reuse prototype code and build on that a lot. That's definitely the case too. But I think that in the question we were talking about there was more about reusing code across projects, and I think that's probably the less common thing. I think that you're reusing prototype code is probably pretty common though. If it's even if it's like a prototype project and then a new project there, you might copy some of that stuff over, and that would make sense too. Let me switch over to camera mode. I don't know why I'm showing my screen there, but there's really nothing going on. There's just a bunch of the text popping up. And now let's see what else we got here. How can I develop a 4-player lobby like each team has 4 players and have mirror apply to my project? That is definitely not something that I could get into on a quick live stream, but I am gonna do that's one of the other, I'd say, out of the 3 things that I'm gonna do, it's gonna be, we got, what is it? Persistence, mirror, and oh, what was the third one? I can't remember my third one. I had 3. I've totally lost it. Whatever it was. It's one of the 3, right? So mirror and networking was one of those 3. If anybody remembers what the other one was, let me know. If it's totally spaced on my head. What else we got here? But it is mirror, I think, is the way to go with it for sure. Can I use Unity to create Jarvis to power my Iron Man suit? I mean, if you can create a Jarvis that powers your Iron Man suit, I would bet you could probably do it in just about anything. You just have to be able to create that. I can't, but if anyone can. Is Unity 2021 already in the works? I would assume so, but I don't really know. I mean, I don't know what their plan is for versioning and version numbers. I know they're constantly working on stuff, so. Can't build more than 100 megabyte game for Google Play right now, and there's no good information on it. Oh, okay, interesting. So maybe the streaming asset stuff is slightly higher demand than if there are a lot of people doing that. It's been a while since I've been really into the mobile space, so it hasn't been an issue that I've run into, but maybe that's slightly more in demand than I'm thinking. I'll send out a poll on that and see, here, what am I talking about? I have a little polling app right here, live setup, so we can do this. Streaming assets / addressables. All right, let's see how popular streaming assets or addressables is. So we'll vote on it, see how high it comes. If it gets lots of 10s and it's super high, maybe that will pop into that top 3. So this would be a video on streaming assets, or like essentially getting around the 100 megabyte Google Play limit or any small download Google Play limit, and then streaming the level assets and the content stuff after. So how exciting is that? How interested are you? Put your number in from 1 to 10, and I'll read through the other questions while everybody votes. Just keep voting, and I'm already scrolled up, so I can just keep going through questions. What do you think about the features of Dark Rift 2 compared to Mirror? I do not know the differences, so I will have to look into that. I'll have to check it out. I do reuse your pooled mono behavior all the time, but even with that, I run into problems, especially with cascading child parent on activate and deactivate events. Interesting, yeah. So with the pooling systems, that's one that I used to reuse them all the time. I used to just constantly reuse pooling. So I would build one, find the one that I liked, and I would reuse it. Now what I found is that I generally just rebuild it every single time I build the game, and every time I build it only to the minimum of what I need for that game. I found that a lot of the time what I've done is I'll build out these pooling systems, and they're big and opinionated, and they work great for the game that I'm in, but then I switch to another context and they don't quite fit. Oh, sorry, you guys can't even see my desktop. There, now you see the countdown going. Countdown is going, the votes are coming in, but you guys can't see the votes going. That was my fault. You got a couple more seconds, 30 seconds to vote. Keep going. Get them in quick. All right. But yeah, oh, what was I talking about? But in general, yeah, with the pooling systems, I usually just recreate them. I make my own, or make a new one every time now, and I just limit it down to only the things that I need for that specific game. So it's interesting, though, 'cause I have done that many times, and I kind of ran into the same thing. I just had random issues that just didn't make sense with the game I was on. Let's see, would you ever consider trying to make videos about how you'd go remaking something like Skyrim or something? I don't know if I would do it to the level of like a Skyrim, because it's just forever. I mean, it would take forever, and very few people would follow along all the way. But maybe maybe I could do like a high level video on it, not actually showing all of the details on it. That could be interesting. So streaming assets came in at a 6.77. That's higher than I would have expected, and lots of tens. So remember that vote's off by one. So lots of tens came in. Yeah, I don't know. That's okay. I'll definitely consider that much higher. All right. What else we got? Anything else in here in questions? Let's scroll down. Have you ever used Houdini with Unity? I've barely touched Houdini with Unity. I have friends who use it all the time and they really swear by it and love it. So if you're interested in it, I would definitely check it out, but it hasn't been something that I've had the opportunity to really dive into. Let's see. Do you plan on mastery? Oh, yes. Mastery course updates. I'd probably be replacing that with this new course that's also going to be a giant update for architecture too. So do architecture and mastery content updates all in one big thing that I think is going to be really exciting. So it should be really soon too. I don't know. I'm pumped about it, but I really don't want to spoil it. See, looked up, picking that thing up. What else we got here? Should there be an easier way to make object pooling since it's used so much? Um, I don't know. I don't think so, just because the way that you pool the objects is very opinionated and it varies quite a bit based on the game and the way that it's working. I could see I could see it as an argument though. So I like tossing it around in my head. Like I could definitely see the argument that like a pooling system like component might make sense where you just give it like the things that you want and the thing that you want to request from it, and then the system just pulls it, grabs it from an addressable or something, and just like all kind of wraps and works. I could definitely see the value in that. I just don't know how well it would integrate. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Now I'm torn on it. I felt like a no, but now I'm kind of like a yes, it should. Who knows? Let's ask the question to everybody else. Should a pooling system exist by default? So this be like a component in Unity. Should that be a component as a new one? Let's vote on it and see what everybody else thinks. I feel like I was kind of I was in the middle, so I don't know. Let's see what else we got here. Does Oculus support streaming assets? I'm writing VR for Oculus, but worried that voice or audio content takes up ton of space. It did before, but I assume so. I don't know though. I don't know if that's changed. It's been a while since I've done any Oculus dev. I've got my Quest 2 down there, but I need to plug it back in and actually get into deving with it again. Do you know any places a game programmer could try to apply for an internship? So internships would be much more likely at bigger game dev companies. Small places generally aren't going to have internships just because managing interns and internships is kind of a full-time job, or at least it's a time sink, right? It's going to take time to manage and train interns and get them up to date and make sure that everything's still going good. So I've only seen it really at larger companies. I think when I was at Qualcomm they had some interns there even, but I know at Sony there was a full like internship program where they would bring in interns usually through the colleges though. So I don't know how it works at all of the companies, but the way that it worked with Sony, I believe, was that they worked with local schools and they took some of their students who were in like an internship program and they would come in and do it that way. So I'm not sure what the best way to get in as an intern is. I'm not even 100% sure that it's the best way to get into a company. If you're really like trying to get in and you're having a hard time, I would also try getting in through like maybe the QA department or the QA coding department. Sometimes there's programming roles in the QA department or in customer service, some other place. If you're just trying to break into the industry without a whole lot of programming experience, that's again, if that's the case, and that's just because I've seen a ton of people be really successful with that. If you can already do the other jobs and you get into the company, a huge heads up when the openings apply or the openings appear. Job opening appears there for a programmer, and one of the guys in QA or CS or whatever is a good programmer and interested and knows the project, knows the product, they're going to have a huge advantage getting that over any external random person that's applying. So I would definitely look into that too as an option. All right, what else we got here? When are you going to develop a 4-player lobby and a team video? Like I said, that's on my top 3 list. That's 4 fingers. Top 3 list. So I think that will be sometime soon, but working on this other course stuff first, so that'll probably be after the big course update. Is your full path course similar to a Zoom class? No, not so much. You don't have to be there live. I've tried doing live courses before. I found that it's almost impossible for everybody to show up at the exact same time, and it doesn't work really well. I mean, even kids who are used to going to a regular schedule seem to be having a hard time with it, at least in some cases. So it's much more asynchronous and just message me and stuff instead of being at a specific time, because I just specific times just don't seem to work for most people, especially not adults with jobs and other responsibilities and stuff. Hey Jason, live your content. I'm going to be starting game design class in a few days. Any advice for me? Design lots of games. Don't design just one game. Design lots of games. Get used to that habit. Game design is not just about video games. I would say. You can maybe see the little cards up here. Uh, oh, I would grab the book and these cards, the art of game design. If you don't already have them, like just grab it. It's good. Get your mind going. Give you lots of ideas and give you kind of a heads up in the course or in your game design classes. So I would say grab the art of game design, grab the book. I like the cards too. I don't want to like spoil them all, but essentially you can just grab cards, pop them out, and go through them and get good inspiration, good ideas, and just good insights and thought on your design stuff. So that would be my recommendation. Let me pop these back up here. Oh, they're just off screen. I cropped my screen down a little bit so you can't see them sitting up there on the shelf. Actually, I guess if I go to camera mode, you can see they're right up there. Right up there somewhere. It's really weird putting my finger up this way. Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely get a hold of those and read the book. Keep it around just as a reference and stuff. All right. What else we got for questions? Okay, I read that one. Is there a place to find people to collaborate in making a Dark Souls like game? Um, I would say probably not. I mean, you can find people to collaborate. Hold on, where did my window go? You can definitely find people to collaborate. And you can definitely find people to build a game together. Finding people to build a very specific type of game and then building that game and that game being Dark Souls is probably going to be much harder. That's the kind of game that you really need a bit of an experienced team who's probably built something together first. So I would say find a team that and build something smaller, something much smaller first, or build a team and build something smaller and then build that next maybe. Because getting a team together is not an easy thing, and getting a team that's going to stay together and work together well for long enough to build a big game is a lot of work, especially if it's not a team that's just bribed with money. If you can pay people a lot of money, you can get a team to do anything. But if you don't have, a ton of money laying around to hire all the people, then you want to make sure that you've got the right team to try to build something big like that, and that you're going to really be able to work together. And I would definitely start with something smaller. Start with something that you can finish in a realistic timeline, and then build up to there once you've gone through the process of building a couple things. But there might also be places, if people have recommendations for a place that you could find people to build games like that outside of game jams and Discord servers, which are the two places I would. So I mean, if I'm going to recommend places to look, definitely go to jump into some game jams, do those, participate in them, talk to people. Hackathons are great once in-person stuff's available again. And then Discord servers. You can hop in there. You can definitely find lots of people in Discord servers who are interested in making games of all different skill levels, and you can definitely recruit people out of there. Not the easiest thing in the world. I don't have the best tips for it, but those are the places I would at least look. All right, let's see what else we got here. What's a good way to get in as QA? I would say apply and let them know that, especially if you have some coding skills, say, hey, apply and say that you have some programming experience. You can help do any automation and stuff that they may be interested in, other things like that. Because a lot of time, if you go into QA with programming skills, you're gonna find that there are things that are being done that you could probably write a simple script or a thing to do to speed up or make easier. And that's where you're gonna be able to kind of shine and show a lot of value. So I would focus on some of those things. Focus on the things that you know about the game. Not so much like the weird like intricacies. They don't want you to like some like obsessed nut with the game or anything. Like like where you're gonna give them a headache about it because you don't like the color of somebody's bow or something. But that that you understand the game, you understand how the game works and the kinds of bugs that pop up. Also, just explaining bugs, being able to reproduce bugs and cause them and stuff, or understand them, and also not guessing what the bug cause is every time. Like understanding that you're probably going to guess wrong, but you're going to know that there is a bug. I'm going to shut up about QA now. Go on to the next thing. Oh, lots of questions popped up. My goodness. All right, let's scroll up and see if I can catch up on these. All right, checking out Sony, offer free app cards. What are some good unis that offer reputable game dev degrees? I honestly don't know. I'm sure they're out there. I just don't know the landscape well enough to tell you. Watching your video about how to make a game in Unity beginner tutorial, awesome. That's a good one. I had a lot of fun with that. It's like the 5th or 6th time that I've gone through that project though, so I felt like it got really refined and worked out well. So I really like that one. It's one of my favorites. I think mentioning, yeah, if you mention my name, it definitely helps stand out in here. Let's see. Do you recommend game dev for a beginner young programmer as a way to get a job in the future? Yes, I recommend that my kids all become game developers because it's a blast. It's a job that pays really well and it has a lot of opportunity outside of game dev. So if you become a programmer and you're a game programmer and you decide, hey, game programming is not for me, I don't want to work on My Little Pony anymore, and there's no other game studios in my city, still like a billion other game dev, or not game dev, programming jobs around. Assuming that obviously it's going to depend where you're at, but anywhere that's got a game dev job probably has 10 to 100 non-game dev jobs that are programming related in that same area, that are working in enterprise stuff, business stuff, healthcare, medical stuff. Pretty much every industry needs some programming. Game is like maybe like 1 or 5% of all the programming. So the skills that you learn, especially if you're in C# and Unity nowadays, the skills that you learn are going to translate really, really well to other things that you could do. I mean, obviously, it's not a one-to-one. You're not going to go like, hey, I was a game dev, now I'm an expert web dev next month. But it's not going to take you very long to make that transition. You're going to be able to be productive in really quick amount of time and make the switch to whichever type of job you want to find. In fact, I think that if you do a lot of game dev for a while and then you jump into enterprise stuff, you may be surprised at how much easier a lot of enterprise development work is, because you don't always have to worry about complicated stuff and like these very disparate systems where you're running on 300 different phones or something. A lot of time with corporate stuff, like everything's locked down, like everybody's using this browser, everybody's using this thing, everybody's using this OS, like there's no variation, and you get some security and stability. It can make things easier. Not everything, or some things are going to be harder, but a lot of things tend to be even easier in my experience when you get out of game dev and make that transition, even if your experience is almost all in just making games. All right, I'm going to take a drink and then we'll see if there are a couple more questions we can go over real quick. All right. Somebody else is making Skyrim. Oh, nice. Let's see. What about a video to scale your game for different resolutions and aspect ratios? That's something I could do. I mean, it's mostly comes down to UI scaling and anchoring that tends to be the problem, or setting up the camera scaler settings. A lot of people just miss that option and setting the size scaling. But I could definitely consider that into a video. In fact, that might be a good one as a subset in a beginner video too. Maybe making things work across devices, or perhaps a deployment one that goes out to like different devices and showing how to do that. It would be interesting. All right, somebody just finished Pong game. Never start trying to build your dream game. I totally agree. Don't start with your dream game. Yeah, unless your dream game is Flappy Bird. And then what else we got here? Oh man, lots of things popped up. How is it going working with the MMORPG? Not working on any MMOs right now. I was working on it, but just the time constraints. I just don't have the time to do it anymore. Too many other things going on, and MMOs take a lot of time. I'm currently doing a dialogue system and seeing it's possible to make a new sentence by deleting the old one and creating a new one, but it's maintainable if that or manable. I'm not sure if that I understand that or not. But if you are doing a dialogue system, Nicholas, I would check out Ink. By the way, it might be a big diversion from what you're doing if you haven't seen it or used it, but it's pretty interesting, and I'm gonna do a video on it pretty soon. It's a way to do a dialogue system that's got kind of a bunch of stuff built in already and has its own external player and its own ecosystem, but it's free and just kind of works, and it's pretty neat. So it's worth checking out. Obviously, building your own dialogue system give you a lot more flexibility. You might be able to do some other things, but if it works for what you're doing, it might be worth diving into and checking out, trying out. It was really simple to integrate. I was surprised. Let's see what else we got here. Do you think a person can make an online game with just blueprints in UE4 in FPS specifically? I assume so, but I wouldn't personally try to do it. Do you have any ideas how many character responses are possible at maximum? Oh, that's not for me. I read a book on C. Now I'm studying C++. Should I consider learning C# instead for game dev? That depends. I would say that if you want to learn game dev, you should start learning Unity or Unreal. Pick one of the two and pick the language and the version of the language that they're using now. Understanding C and C++ is very good. I think I have the advantage of like C# didn't exist when I learned how to code, so I had to learn C++. I wasn't good at it, but I had to learn it. But now I would say that I think you could probably just skip it unless you want to get into Unreal. If you want to get into Unreal, C++ is very important. There's a lot to know there. If you want to just get into Unity, it might be a bit of a distraction or a diversion and a little bit of confusion because there are things that you have to do there that you don't have to do in C#, and things that are a little bit different. It might be a little bit confusing going back and forth between the two, but it isn't too hard to do it. It's pretty easy to make the jump from one to the other once you're active in one and using one regularly. So I would pick the engine that you want to use. If it's Unreal, go with C++. If it's Unity, go with C# and focus on that. But pick one or the other is what I would go with. And then, it doesn't mean stick with it forever, but pick one and focus on that one and then decide if you want to change it later. Let's see what else we got here. To get involved. Oh, somebody would like to know how to get involved in the game industry as a game programmer in Unity. My general recommendation here is start building out some portfolio projects, some small things, get some practice in there. Once you can do that, once you can build out a couple little portfolio things, start applying for jobs and go through that process. I talked about that a little bit earlier. You can rewind back, but it's start applying as soon as you can build things. A lot of people, I think, I'm gonna go grab this goofy little sign that I just grabbed. Hold on. All right. So when I was out at the store, I don't remember when this was, but I saw this little sign thing. And I mean, mostly I saw it and I was thinking about like toddlers, right? I got the kids and like, hey, this seems like good motivation and it's true, right? But then I don't know, it also kind of makes sense in my background because honestly, I feel like a lot of people just underestimate how much they can do. Like they think that they're not capable of making a game or they're not capable of getting a job in it or something. And I was like, oh, this and like remind people like, hey, like you could probably like if you're trying to do it, like you could definitely do it. You just got to actually really put in the effort. I feel like a lot of the time what happens is things are hard, things seem difficult, and then people just kind of when things get hard, it's easier to give up, right? It's easier to surrender and say that it's impossible. And that can be a very quick default behavior. So you got to just kind of fight it. And that's kind of one of the reasons I like getting these goofy little signs too, and putting them up because it's like a fat reminder right in my face, like, oh yeah, I could probably do a little bit more, do it a little bit better, like, or with the thing that I thought I was gonna have a hard time with, I could probably do it, like, just so. Anyway, yeah, I was like, start applying for things, start building some stuff, and just keep at it. Don't give up, and start trying for jobs as soon as you can, like meet the bare minimum. Let me talk real quickly about just job applications too. Here, let's let's pause, switch to desktop mode real quick. Let's add in a new question. How exaggerated are job requirements? 1 is 10, 1 not at all. 10 is extremely. All right. Now I want to see what everybody else thinks. In my experience, job requirements are insanely exaggerated all the time. And I think that it discourages people from applying for jobs. People like see this job, I'm going to hit start votes and let people vote on it. Go ahead and start your voting on it now. And I'll go through the questions and stuff. But I wanted to talk about it because what I've seen is that a lot of the time, like people won't apply for a job because they'll see this list, right? They'll look at the job posting, see all of these requirements on it, and they'll go, "Oh man, well, like I don't have that one or that one. Like I guess this one's not for me. Go on to the next one. I don't have that one on there. Go on to the next one. I don't have that one on there of the requirements, right? And these are like lists of, 5, 10, sometimes like 15 requirements of things that they want you to know or things that they want you to have experience with. Um, Now, if you're an experienced programmer, you've been doing it for a while, you've been working at a lot of companies and seen people hired, you might know that a lot of the time these lists are generated by somebody in HR saying, "Hey, we don't know what we're supposed to look for. Can you guys just send me a list of your requirements?" And then random people on the team sending in a list of things, and then those get compiled into a quick bullet point list and then shoved into a job requirement. It doesn't happen that way all the time. Sometimes people are very, very good at their job requirement listings, but I'd say like 90% of the ones I've seen happen that way, where the requirements don't really match up so much with the job. Maybe like 2 or 3 of the key requirements do, like you know how to create a simple Unity game, or you understand 2D development, or you can you handle JavaScript web requests, whatever the thing is. A lot of the time, like there's a couple things on there that are important, and then there's a whole bunch of other crap that's just filler stuff that's nice to have, or not very important, or somebody else on the team already knows it, or maybe we'll do this one day type of thing that people are interested in. So make sure that when you're looking at jobs, don't self disqualify yourself from a job. Especially if you meet half the requirements on there, at least try. Like go for it, give it a shot. A lot of the time, even if you meet less than that, if you're finding that you meet less than half the requirements, the worst thing that happens if you apply is you don't get the job, right? It's not like you're going to apply and they're gonna come, I don't know, burn your house down or something, or prevent you from ever getting a job again. So you may as well apply, but make sure that you don't just half-ass it either. Like if you're gonna apply for the jobs, make sure that when you apply for them, you write them custom emails, you customize your resume to that job. Now it doesn't mean like don't make stuff up for it, but prioritize the things that they care about. If they care about specific Unity features or things that you've worked with, put those up at the top of the list of your skills, not at the bottom or not buried in the middle. If they don't care about your Unreal experience, put that down at the bottom. Nobody cares about it. If they don't care about your Unity experience, put that at the bottom and put your thing that they care about up at the top, right? Make sure that you prioritize it, and also like in the wording, make sure that you word it towards the position that you're actually applying for. Don't just batch send out a generic thing to a bunch of people. It's just like a waste of your time, right? It's not going to help you nearly as much. And I feel like if you're going to go through the process of submitting the thing and sending it in, make sure that you do a good job on it and do it right, and customize it so that it works for that job. All right, I'm going to go through a couple more questions, and I'm going to shut up, go get a drink, and do all the other stuff I need to do today. Let's see. Is the ECS still in Unity? Yeah, it's just kind of been renamed to DOTS, data-oriented tech stack. What else we got here? Thanks for this. You're very welcome. Thank you. As a PM, job descriptions never really tell you what the job is. Yeah, they just describe the job of a PM. Yeah. Interesting. Beginning junior developer must have 5 years of experience in its full stack. Yep. I've seen that. I've seen beginner jobs require things that are nuts. Or where they have a requirement for you using a thing for longer than it's existed. That's always great. You got anything else in here? That's about it. How many ads are reasonable for a first published Android game? I don't know. I have no idea. I would start low and then ramp it up from there, maybe. Don't start too high. See what the revenue is and how it's working out. Um, yeah, I have no idea. I'm not an expert in ads on mobile anymore, or not that I ever was, but I'm less of one now than at any point in my life, I think. Oh, six. Do we got anything else? What are my favorite kind of games? I think this might be the last one I'll get into. Which my favorite would be. Oh, well, there are a couple more things on there actually. So I'll answer this and then I'll go down. So favorite kind of games, generally strategy games, RTS games, or card games. Magic the Gathering, big one. And, I don't want to pull them out now. But a bunch of cards back there behind me. Those are generally the biggest ones. Like RTS games are always a big hit with me. It's something I'd love to build. They're such a huge project. I never find the time, but I definitely need to do that soon. It's got to be on my short list of stuff that I need to build because I just really love them. Is VR still in its infancy? Like 3D TV was hyped, or is it hyped like it was in your? So I really like the Quest 2. I think that it's just going to keep getting better. Eventually, it'll get down to sunglasses style. I'm going to stop trying to predict when that'll be, but I think that when that happens, it'll be super huge and it's still really cool. The Quest 2 is pretty damn neat device. It's still just hard to get people to slap something onto their face that's bigger than glasses, but I think that it's just going to keep growing. I don't see any reason it's going to go away or anything. 3D TV kind of fell away because it had a lot of requirements. It wasn't easy to set up, and nobody was really pushing it with the standard. I think Facebook pushing VR stuff and Valve pushing VR stuff is going to probably keep it around for a while. If Facebook decides to kill it though, I mean that's the end of the VR, or it's a big hit to VR stuff at least. So who knows? All right. Anything else? Do I really need to go to college to do game design? To be honest, I don't know if any of my game designer friends went to college for anything design related. I think they pretty much all have a degree in something completely unrelated to software or games in general. There are, I'm sure, are some outliers out there, but I mean, game dev degrees didn't even exist. I mean, especially game design degrees didn't exist at all until relatively recently. So you definitely don't need it. You really need to understand game design, though. Game design isn't just like pick the new feature, the new thing that you want in your game, or the one little change that you like to the game. Like a good game designer is the kind of guy that I can just call up and I can show him my thing. And this is literally what I do. I will call up. I'll have a demo ready. Like, okay, this is the thing I want to show off. This is the thing I want to teach. And I'll put together a little thing. I go, okay, hey, game designer buddy. In fact, I might introduce you guys to one soon. If you're interested, make sure you hit the thumbs up button and leave a comment. And I'm going to bring a game designer on here and just talk about design stuff. I think it would be fun. But what I'll do is I'll go, hey, here's the thing. How do I make this fun and not suck? And then just instantly, it's just like a flurry of ideas and recommendations, and it's faster than I can even go with like all of the ways that I could make this thing better. And it's always like great stuff that makes things, a huge improvement. So it's a skill. It's a skill that you got to hone, and a skill that comes from understanding and playing a lot of games. And then I think just kind of getting into what makes the games fun, why they're fun, and what's fun about them, and really knowing what exists too. Find a lot of people want to be a game designer, but they've only played a dozen games in their life, and that's not the way to go. Like, I don't feel qualified as a game designer. I don't feel like I've played enough games to be a game designer yet. I know people will argue and stuff, but I feel like if you played a lot, the more different things you've played and the more variety of stuff you played, the more powerful it's going to make you as a game designer. Now, what this has to do with college, I have no idea. I just kind of wanted to rant about game design stuff. But anyway, if you would make a course around programming and RTS, hit Insta buy. Yeah, it's something I would like to do, but I also just really want to make like an RTS game for fun too. Is it worth it to build your own game engine? No, I would say definitely. I mean, it is if you want to be an engine programmer and that's like your dream and goal. I've known people who wanted to do that. They really loved engine development and stuff. In that case, yes. If you want to make a game, no, use one of the existing engines. Can you install Unreal on Linux? I don't know. I don't know what the status of Unreal on Linux is anymore. Until then, let's see. People ask them if Unreal or Unity are better. I prefer Unity, but a lot of people like Unreal. I think that you can build a great game with either engine. It just depends on which one you prefer, what your experience is, and what the team that you're working with is used to. Have you tried I have not tried. So the question here is, have you tried the Unreal CLR plugin in Unity that allows C# programming in Unreal? So essentially lets you do kind of a wrapper and do C# code instead of C++. I haven't tried that. I don't know that I necessarily would. I would probably just jump into C++, but I'm not completely sure. I know that with oh, okay. I don't have much more to say about that. And then on the topic of Linux, I know that with Unity, you can run it in Linux, and I believe the editor worked in Linux. I don't know if it still works in Linux or if it's still supported. I know you can do Linux builds. I just don't know if the editor actually still works in Linux or not. I know that that was a project that was going on for a while, and it was somewhat supported. I just don't know if it stuck around. Just because, to be honest, like, most of the time, developers just aren't developing in Linux. It's very, very rare that game devs are working in Linux day to day outside of maybe their server code. They work in the engine that the people are going to play the game on. I mean or sorry, not the engine, the operating system that people are going to play the game on, and that just makes the most sense. So I could see why it doesn't get a whole lot of support. I would like to see an AI monster system programmed in C#. Oh, I actually did one of those. If you search on my YouTube channel and you look for AI, you'll find one about AI monsters, bots going around chopping stuff down, running away from things. I think it even had like little monsters that went in and killed them, or cats or something, but I don't really remember. Oh, cool. And it looks like Unity does run on Linux still. Cool. All right. Well, I think I am out of questions and out of things for us to vote on, but I had a lot of fun today, and like I said, got to open this up. And I also just again want to say thanks to everybody for yeah, you're hitting subscribe and hitting the thumbs up button. If you don't mind hitting that again to get more people to subscribe, and we'll get up to the gold one here soon. Unity Store has dragons packed by assets. Oh yeah, that would be fun. The Infinity PBR dragon asset, or just showing some of those PBR ones. I did a stream not too long ago. If you're curious about those assets, on which one? It was one of the 3D game ones I did where I used the mummy, and we started going through a little bit of the PBR setup for the mummy and how you can customize them and change out a big variety of stuff with the shader and settings that he's got there. So maybe I'll do one of those sometime soon. Just kind of go through some assets and have fun with it. That could be a good time. Or actually, I think I did one on some of my favorite Unity assets and showed some of that too. That could be fun too. Somebody asked if I made anything in VR for Unity. Yes, actually, I made a bunch of VR games in Unity. Right when the Vive came out, I made quite a few. I think really 6 or 7 of them. The first one was VR Baseball, which was still, I think, my favorite one. It was a little demo game that I put together just to show. I was making a tutorial on how to make a baseball game or how to build a thing for VR, and I let my wife play it to test it, and she liked it, and it was the weirdest thing ever because my wife like hates video games and everything that I make, game wise. So I was shocked and turned it into a full game, and it turned into like a release title for the Vive. It was a blast, and a lot of fun. And it's something I actually was thinking about doing a video on that soon, like just on how to recreate something like that, because I think like that was a weekend project, and I could probably turn that into like a 2-hour live stream video where we go through the whole process of building a VR game, like a baseball one, something simple like that, where you're not moving around, not doing too many mechanics, swinging a bat or whatever, and hitting home runs. So that could be fun. If people are interested in that, make sure you also hit the thumbs up button or just drop a comment and let me know. I check the comments. I try to reply to a lot of them, but there's usually too many to hit them all. But if you have a thought on something else you want to see afterwards too, just drop a comment down here. Oh, how does she like the fruit game for the kids? She was a fan, so that one worked out pretty well. Same with the letter one too. The counting and fruit games have both been a pretty big hit. We got them tablets of their own now, little Kindle Fire ones. Great deal. Like I think it was $40 or something for Black Friday. So little tablets to play these on. And go through and learn a little bit playing games, but they're games that are very tightly managed where there's definitely no microtransactions, and I know exactly everything that's going to pop up there. There's no confusion, and it's just right to the point. So they work out pretty good for that. Yeah, if you have questions for Unreal, talk to Tim Sweeney. If you can, I would say they'd be the guy. Is there a Discord server? There is a Discord server. I will post the link in chat down or in the description down below for anybody that wants to see it afterwards. And I think that's it. I think I'm gonna wrap it up here and just end now. I've been at this for 2 hours, having a blast. Again, I want to say thanks everybody for just coming out, and this has been fun. Again, the play button thing here is really cool, super exciting. Got to figure out where this thing's gonna go. I told my wife I'd put it on the front door, but she didn't approve yet, so we'll figure it out. But thanks again. Oh, tips for new devs, not today, but I'll do that next. Maybe next time around we'll do a bunch of just tips for new devs. I think that'll be fun. I did some a little while ago. I gotta wrap up now. But thanks again, everybody. Appreciate y'all coming out. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Have fun coding. And if you wanted to see the code for this thing too, just let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll just open source it or something, make it available. All right. Thanks again, everybody, and goodbye.